Good morning. So today I want to cover a little bit about why I'm probably never going to buy another air tool. Well, I won't. These are all the air tools I have, and then I've got my compressor and a hose there. When I first got air tools, I was like really excited.
So I got this sick new interior cleaning gun. That actually is phenomenal.
Because it's like I can easily blow dirt out at carpets and just really go to town and just focus on not necessarily agitating the carpets, but just getting all that dirt out and then vacuuming it up super easily. With this tool, I was like, well, then I could apply carpet cleaner too, or I could spray down the doors real fast and just do all that at once. And after using the tools and seeing that they're really not valuable, I don't think that I'll ever buy another one. So the Tornado is like a really big one. A lot of people love this tool. It just blows out a lot of the dirt and it does a really good job, but if I compare it to something like my hand brush, this thing does the same job and it's not blowing dirt everywhere and getting into my eyes and stuff. So like when you see people using this Tornado in really dirty cars, it like literally chucks the dirt everywhere. It blows up a ton of dust. It's really good at what it does, but it creates a lot of problems when you do use it that you don't really think about, such as flinging dirt everywhere. You're putting a lot of particulates in the air and you're breathing all that in, which I don't know if that is a problem, but it is something to think about. And then, if you do clean things like the seats beforehand, you're probably gonna have to, vacuum them again because you're getting all that dirt on there. So when I first got these, I was like, man, these are really great, but I just noticed that they were causing me more issues than I would have liked to have cleaning in a car. So I just kind of stopped using them. And on top of the fact that, you got to bring this tool around specifically, you also have to bring around this big air compressor. And so I was lugging around this like really heavy air compressor. It's like maybe 35 pounds or something. It's not terribly heavy, but when you got to throw this in your car and you don't want to risk scratching up your car, and you also got to take this hose and you got to set it all up and wait for it to fill and do all this stuff, you're just adding on extra BS that you have to worry about when you're detailing, and like it doesn't add as much value as you might think. With this tool, it's like it applies such a small amount of cleaner that it's like you might as well not even notice it's there. This spray is like literally like a milliounce of cleaner for every like second, and that's I don't know what a milliounce is, but it's just a really small amount. Just picture that, okay? It's just a very small amount of cleaner. So when you would agitate it with the cleaner, you basically wouldn't get any foam because there's like barely any cleaner on there. Like between these two tools, I've just like kind of stopped using them altogether, and you can see my air compressor is a little dusty because I only really got it for detailing. And I mean, air compressor has a lot of uses, so you still might want one. But if you're getting it just for detailing, I would recommend holding off because there's a lot of much simpler solutions that do as good, if not better job. Real quick before I get to the other tools though, the reason a lot of people like using the Tornado is because it can get into those tight corners and crevices, and it can blow a lot of that dust or dirt out. Like, so for example, if I did it in between the center console and that seat, I could blow out the dirt there or under the seat or, really on the sides and stuff. And it's good for getting those cracks and crevices. But if I had to choose between lugging around all of this and a steamer, I would choose the steamer any day. The steamer can do the same thing. You can just blow into the cracks and crevices of the seat, and then you can just wipe it up with a microfiber towel. So it's like, if like my hand can at least get in there, so I know I'll be able to wipe that up. Whereas with the Tornado, the air coming out of the tool might not be enough to actually blow that dirt out. Like if it's sticky or if it's really wedged in there, like this thing, you have to be fairly close to the carpet to get it to work. So imagine trying to get this big tuba trumpet looking hunk in between the seat and the center console. It's not gonna work no matter how much you try. I think there's better ways to do that area, and honestly, this just causes like problems. Like you got the respiration, you got the dust blowing everywhere, the dirt blowing everywhere. You can't really get into cracks and crevices all too well because of the size of the thing, and you got to carry around a big air compressor. So unless it's like super convenient for you to use the air compressor, I really wouldn't recommend it. And this is coming from someone who's used this tool before, had to lug it around, and just found better, simpler ways where, I'm spending basically the same amount of time, maybe a little bit more doing my methods than if I were to use the air compressor. But I think at the end of the day, it's about the same amount of time. It's maybe a little bit more effort, but that's how you bulk up, get strong, So what I found works better is I actually like using just a simple carpet brush and just agitating the dirt and then vacuuming it up. Real simple, no BS behind it. And the reason that I have also my drill brush here is because you might think, oh, I'll just drill brush right away. But the problem with drill brushing, similar to using the air compressor tool, is that it just flings dirt everywhere. And I've used the pipe cleaner on rugs before, and it's really good for getting those like weird areas. But it does fling a lot of cleaner and dirt around. So if you are going to use, drill brushes, at least try and get most of that dirt out of there so it doesn't fly around. The nice thing about using the hand brush though is that while it might not clean as well or whatever you want to claim, it does agitate a lot of that dirt, and you can pick it up really easily after, and it's not going to fly the dirt everywhere. You might push it or brush it into areas and have to clean it up again, but it's not at least going to fly onto the seats and all over the place. If you are noticing there's cars where you're having a hard time getting into some of those cracks and crevices, you can always get a steamer for that, and I would definitely recommend it over any of these air tools any day. Just talking from experience and my love for the steamer. But I can get 100% of the car with 50% of the tooling, and if you compare a steamer to an air compressor, like they both have that like time it takes to get started. Air compressor is going to be a lot faster though. It's a lot easier to fill a container of air with compressed air than it is to heat up a 1/3 gallon of water or whatever. But I think that 1/3 gallon of water is going to leave you with a lot better results overall, and it's going to be about the same amount of effort and time. So highly recommend getting a steamer and using simple tools like brushes versus getting air tools and having to worry about dust flying everywhere, dirt flying everywhere. It just makes a mess more than it cleans. And I've seen some people do it where you have, the air compressor and the vacuum going together, and it's like, you think that's really doing something extra? I don't think the vacuum is going to really be sucking up any of that dirt at all, to where the vacuum will suck up some of the dirt that the air compressor loosens up, but it's still going to fling dirt everywhere. That's kind of what I was trying to say, but I totally flubbed. Just keep that in mind. A lot of people make the air tools seem really attractive, and I've done that in the past where, I'm like, man, these things are awesome, but it's like I barely ever use them. And I don't think they're really all that useful when it comes down to it. It's like relatively new compared to the other tools, using a blower and stuff. I don't know when this Tornado thing was made, but it seems like a relatively newer tool compared to these other ones. Like a brush was made in like 1850, way back in the day. Now I'm here selling brushes. No. Well, I'm just trying to give you guys a little bit of like information about my experience with air tools, and there are going to be a lot of people who disagree with me on this and say they love their air tools, but I think it just, honestly, to me, as someone who's very, I don't like repeating what I do. I'm what do you call it? Very performance driven or something like that. Like I like to do things optimally, and I don't think the air tool is anywhere near optimal for detailing. If you are having issues with things in the carpet, like pet hair, for example, you can always get a pet hair brush, though I've never had to use one before. But I think I've heard things where it's like this can kind of blow out hair too, so maybe that's a benefit. But I think like the only real benefit, and I truly mean this, only like real benefit to using a tool like this is going to be for some of those harder to reach carpet areas. And I found that even at the maximum PSI at 90, like most of the time I wasn't able to get the tool close enough to actually blow out the dirt properly. And so it's just kind of like a nothing burger. Like it just didn't really do anything. So I'd be lugging around setting this up to use it for 5 seconds for it to do nothing. And so, compared to something like this where it's zero setup, it's like 2 ounces, it's really easy to lug around with me. You can get smaller carpet brushes too if you want to get into some of those more small areas. Man, I gotta figure out something to get hair out of these things because it's like loaded with carpet fibers or something. Anyway, I would just stick with simple tools. The time it takes me to do a full car is like 2 hours. So if you compare that to someone who uses an air tool, maybe it's like an extra 10 minutes because I have to go around with this tool, but I can still get a car done in like an hour and a half if it's relatively clean, or it can take me 2.5 hours if it's pretty dirty. I think like the air tool doesn't really aid. Even if you had a truck where you had all this set up already and all you had to do was turn it on, I can't imagine a world where I'm ever gonna use another air tool again, unless they make like a vacuum that can suck and blow at the same time. then I don't think I'll use an air tool. The only air tool I'll be using was probably just my vacuum. Yeah, just a nice little synopsis for you guys. I've had this maybe a year now, or maybe a little less. While I did really like it at one point in time,
Sick new.
you know, now it's not so much. I'm referencing my own video in a video that's epic. So that's just a couple notes for you guys. Hope you can learn a little something about, you know, what tools to buy and all that, because, you know, it should be pretty simple. Honestly, like I've said a million times, detailing has gotten way too complicated for basically no reason. And so bring it back to some basics and just take it easy on, you know, the brain power and what you're doing. Anyway, enough rambling. Get yourself some simple tools. Avoid the air tools. If you already have them, then you might know my pain. You might not though. You might really like them. And maybe you're like raging. So it's not like I get many comments anyways, which is fine. I just more like just give you guys the answers, and so then you don't have to comment at all because I'm giving everything correct, even though I've made plenty of mistakes. I love you guys.